Hi, and welcome to episode 141 of the Phil Swallow podcast, recording on Wednesday, the 5th of April 2023, which I think is the last day of the financial year, certainly here in the UK. Or is it the first of the new financial year? I think it's the last day. Anyway, today's episode is called Analysing My Shorts. And I've got a kind of dryish sense of humour, which you may have seen before on videos and heard in some of the commentary on these podcasts. And so I'm not actually analysing shorts that I wear, even though I've done the little emoji for that. I'm actually analysing my short videos. And I'll come to that as we go through the show. So welcome. Thanks for viewing or listening to the podcast. I've had, let me have a look. I just had a brief look, but just see if anything changed. 56 views and 8 likes of my video podcast, and that is a higher number than actually the audio one this week. So, although sometimes they take a little while to come through, so thank you for that. I hope you got some enjoyment out of what was a transitionary episode in some ways, going from the single format to the dual format. And excuse me. Once again, the frog in the throat is here, even though I'm recording at a different time of day and stuff. But I'll carry on regardless. Yes, it's we've seen a change in the weather for the positive. So from the dry sort of winter period, we've gone into a wetter spring, and then it's kind of calmed down the last few days. Cut the grass for the first time yesterday, and was going to actually record the podcast then, but then there was some stuff on the news about some former president, so I kind of got absorbed with that and recording this morning. So it's generally been a quieter week this week. That said, there's no such thing as a quiet week, it would seem. One of the main things that happened at the beginning of the week was on a sort of more entertainment and leisure front, and that was Crystal Palace recording their first win of the year against Leicester City in the last minute. So that was a little football aside, but that was really good. Great to see Roy Hodgson back in the managerial seat for a period. And in terms of what I'm doing, like creatively, well, on Monday, Sue had a theatre rehearsal, so performance she's got tonight, and it was up at Theatre Delhi in London, which is actually where I was the other week for a theatre stills photography shoot. And I'd agreed to meet up with an ex-work colleague just to have a little chat and a bit of lunch. So I thought, well, why don't I bring along my 360 video camera and film the walk from London Bridge Station through to where we were going to meet at Leadenhall Street, because there's so much to see on that way. There's so much to see there, from just the history, the architecture, the hustle and bustle. Because it's Easter weekend, there's lots of people. It's Easter holidays. There's lots of people, taking their kids up to see the sights of London, and it was really fairly easy to record. I wanted to try and keep walking in a fairly straight line wherever possible, knowing that the camera that's on the extended pole that I'm holding aloft is going to capture that video, and that when people look back at it, they'll actually see it fairly smoothly as well. And the advantage of it being the 360 video is that you can look literally anywhere. It's like a ball of view, and at any point you can pause the video and look up, down, left, right. There's one little gripe that I have with YouTube, is that the default was for a fairly low quality reproduction. It was 720, so you can actually go in and make that up to 4K if your device supports it, and I think that provides for a better experience and more sort of detail, and that I like the kind of technical aspects. So that was good, and the edit really wasn't too heavy. So what I decided to do was actually do the donkey work. The files are quite big because it's capturing so much data, so things take a bit longer from that perspective. But I did the main edit on Monday evening, and it did some processing overnight, and then I released it yesterday morning, and that's had about 30 odd views, 36 views, something like that, and some comments and some likes. And it's quite a different format, because what I chose to do here was add music to the track rather than just the voices. I mean, there was a bit of wind, well, quite a bit of wind noise going over London Bridge. And even though you can suppress that with a kind of setting, it doesn't always work very nicely. And I thought that when I first did this, it would be about the visuals. So if I just put some kind of soft house, hip hop type stuff on there, then it just means it can just be kind of carrying you along, really. So that was the aim there. And, if you've not looked at it yet, please have a look. It's my London Bridge Station to Leadenhall Street 360 video or VR. But it's really nice. I mean, you can just look at these and sort of drag around on the mouse to choose your angle. You can actually move your device physically around. So if you spun around in a chair, you'd get that 360 view. And if you had the VR headset, you would just do the same where you kind of look all over to get the view that you'd like. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was really, really good. So about these shorts, well, I'm still doing the 30 in 30. This week, because I've ended up, even though I said at the beginning it's quieter, it's actually been quite busy. So I've ended up doing shorter shorts. So my shorts before were about, it all sounds weird, doesn't it? My YouTube shorts were about 58 seconds. You can't go over a minute. But these, I've just decided to do some mapping ones using maps that I can overlay one onto the other. So on the National Library of Scotland website, you can look at maps for 1890s, 1940s, and obviously current day is available at any time. And I thought, well, if I do these as almost a template, then I can get the content out there. It still tells a bit of a story because we're looking at a certain place over a period of time, and we'll just see how that goes. So I've done quite a few this week. I did Kenley Aerodrome this morning, and I'll have to do one at some point today. For today's release. And I mean, likes and comments are coming through, views are coming through, but it's really the way YouTube kind of processes these. So it forces your videos into what's called the Shorts feed. Now, I don't know exactly how it does that and how it chooses to put those to whomever's device, but it does. It kind of just takes the video and just deposits it in the Shorts feed. And whilst that might be okay because you'll see that it ticks up a view, now if the person's just not interested, they'll swipe it away. And for one that I did the other day, a slightly longer short of Crystal Palace where they played before they moved to Selhurst Park, I think that because I got a couple of dislikes very early, I think that if that lands in a Brighton fan or a Millwall fan or a rival fan's feed, they're probably just going to do that, hit the dislike before they've even looked at it. So that was interesting. And you can see for each video, you've got kind of percentage bar, and it's got the first bit of actually viewed and then the rest of it, which is swiped away. And sometimes it's quite a high percentage of swiped away, let alone any dislikes. But, I don't get too many dislikes. I myself try not to dislike a video. I know what goes into making these, and, I might not love it. Sometimes I've provided some feedback where people I felt have got the balance wrong between the sound track volume and the voice, and it kind of obviously the music might drown out the voice. So I've done some feedback there and had some comments back, which is good. But yeah, I don't like to dislike. I think it's just a stat that we don't need to see. And YouTube used to actually show the dislike numbers, but they took that away because they said it didn't really have any positive effect. Surprise, surprise. So yeah, I personally think that the algorithm, that's fine. It's serving up my video to people, maybe random people, or certainly people who perhaps it thinks might have an interest in the content based on the title and whatever science it can apply, AI maybe. And I personally think that my videos are best found really where people's done a genuine search for that type of video, for the stuff I'm doing on local history and those type of stories. The people I would like to see my content and hopefully jump onto other content would be where people have actually done a search for that particular thing and ended up in either what they wanted or in the ballpark thereof, and were able to then go along and, hopefully spend some time on the site. That's what I'm looking for. So the Shorts feed won't really do that, but the YouTube search, or maybe sometimes it does these other kind of browse features where it just puts stuff in front of people and they may or may not click it, but it's kind of where it's presented on the page, on like the home page of YouTube. So, this is sort of early days in a way. I think in some ways each one of these is an advert for what I do on my site. They're not going to go anywhere. It's not like they're going to be 30 days and then removed. They're just going to stay there. So maybe once the shorts feed algorithm stops serving them to people who may not be interested, then it might be that I get lower volume of views, but for people who actually genuinely wanted to see that information. That's where I'm coming from. So that was good. So just a couple more things to cover. So I've got a headshot session tomorrow for a former client, so wants to come back and have some more headshots done, some updates, so that'd be great. And what I did yesterday, which I've mentioned on earlier audio episodes of the podcast, is I always do a thorough, comprehensive, detailed, technical setup of everything before I do a shoot, particularly where there's been a gap, because I've not done headshot sessions for a while. So that's what I did yesterday, was set up all the lights, camera, tether the camera to the computer, did some checks, even run the little backup thing that I do to a separate disk when I'm running a session. All works great. So that's all brilliant and ready to go for tomorrow. Well, I mean, I've not left it set up because I do it at home downstairs in the living room, but it's going to be ready to go. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be almost this time tomorrow morning. So that's good. And really, the only other thing that I've got in my diary, well, two things between now and then. The first thing is seeing Sue tonight at the Drayton Arms in, I think it's Old Brompton or West Brompton or something Brompton in London. So I'll be going up there this evening. Sue's doing it's kind of you read the script, but you're still acting the part. It's a bit of a kind of festival thing that they got on. So that would be good. That's this evening. But prior to that, I'm going to be playing golf with my mate down at Woodcote Park. Now, I was hopeful I would have got some winter golf in, but it never happened. So this is my first game since we met up at that same place back in September. So I could be a bit rusty. I could be very rusty. But the weather forecast is pretty good. We've gone from sunny to cloudy today. And hopefully the golf will be okay, apart from rusty. But it's always nice to just get out. We have a good old social chat and banter and catch up with various different things and chew the cud and put the world to rights and have a bit of golf in between. It's not super competitive. I think we normally play for £1. So make sure I've got a £1 coin in my bag. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching and listening. I really do appreciate it. Feel free to comment. That's always a positive. This setup, by the way, it's slightly different today because I've got some daylight here and I know I need to tidy up behind. I mean, it's never going to be the perfect kind of, like you see on some YouTube videos, the perfect backdrop. I've also got a situation where what I see in my little monitor here might not look what it looks like when I've actually done the editing on it, so I might need to do some tweaks there. But this is less about the visual. It's more about that this is a platform and an outlet that I can share the podcast on. So, yeah, thank you once again from me. This is and was episode 141 of the Phil Swallow podcast. Look after yourselves, and I'll look after this frog in my throat. And I'll see you in the next episode.